Well, good evening, everyone. Please accept my apologies for that. I literally always repel technology. I was sat here ready to go. Dawn said, "Are you there?" Yeah, I'm here. Unmute. No, it's gone. So I do apologise. My name's Declan. I'm a senior paramedic for Northwest Ambulance. Soon to be leaving, though, joining the land of GPs. To be a community paramedic working with GP practices. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's the next step in an amazing career. I was asked to do a webinar by the lovely Dawn, and we talked about different things that I could probably talk about, but I thought, why not talk about my journey, my transition that I'm currently on, and that all my friends and family are on with me. As you said earlier, I'm a transgender male. I was born female, and over the last 18 months is when I've done my transitioning. And we'll talk through that and a few facts and figures as well. But I just wanted to share my story in the hope that you as healthcare professionals, or maybe family members that you have that are transgender, that you can just help them in a positive way through things that I've learned along the way, and through that my family and friends have learned along the way. Because I think sometimes we're too afraid to talk about these sort of things because we're scared about upsetting people. And what I've learned is we have to talk. Communication is key. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Had a little chat earlier with Dawn, and she was like, "Oh, send me over your PowerPoint." And as you can probably already noticed, I just repel technology. So I do apologise. You are going to have to just look at my face throughout this webinar, because if I had to put PowerPoints and photos and everything else in, it would go wrong. So I apologise. On top of that, I am full of a cold. It's literally pouring out of me. So I do apologise if I sneeze, if I cough, or if I have to blow my nose. I feel like I should say it's not COVID. We have to say that now. No, it's just a cold, it's not COVID. I know you're at the other side of the screen and you wouldn't catch it anyway, but I am COVID-free. I have done a lateral. It's completely fine. I do just apologise that at any given moment, it just starts pouring. So please forgive me if I do have to reach for the tissues. I've even got some, not blanding it, but some rub there just in case I get to the point that I can't breathe and talk. Like I said, I'm transitioning from female to male. So I feel like I should just say that this is probably a dose of man flu. It is actually my first dose of man flu, and I can confirm that it is severe, and I do require lots of love and attention. So moving on. Thank you, firstly, CPD, for having me. It's a real honour to share my story, and I'm really proud of who I am, where I've come from, and that people are taking an interest in it. I didn't realise actually the level of support that I would receive. It was always the negative. You always think that people are going to reject you, that they're going to disown you and put hatred upon you. And actually, it's been the complete opposite. Overwhelmingly so is that, you know, people are coming from far and wide to hear my story and my journey. And actually what the important thing is, it's not just my journey, it's everybody's, because it's so accepted now that we need to find ways to move on, to live through life, supporting people transgender, non-binary, gender fluid. So I hope that I'm just a small drop in a big pond of moving forward in this positive way with the LGBTQ family. So being transparent, I struggled a little bit finding a title for this webinar, and I thought, you know, play on words, being transgender, being transparent. And it's really because the biggest thing that I've found is that being open and honest, and I don't mean going around telling people, oh, by the way, I'm trans, you've got to, you know, respect me because I'm transgender, but having open and honest conversations with loved ones, with friends, family, patience and just starting a conversation means the difference between somebody feeling alone and isolated and somebody that feels loved and cared for and accepted. So that's where we're going. That's what we're doing. I've not really prepared a speech as such, but I've jotted down some notes that I want to work through. So I will keep looking to the side. So bear with me. As Dawn was saying, the LGBT network, ambulance network, has got the trans toolkit, which is a fabulous piece of kit. I won't tell you the answer in how many books there are, but it can just give you a little bit of insight. And it certainly gave me insight into a lot of information that I wasn't aware of. For example, just within our NHS system, our GPs recognise 6 different genders, which, are the obvious ones. You've got your male, your female, your gender neutral, non-binary, gender fluid, and gender queer. Now, I don't think it's up to all of us to know and understand what each of those means, but I think it's important that as healthcare professionals, we understand that there are differences and people don't always conform to the 2 genders in which society is dictated for so many years. It's feminine and masculine. There is nothing worse for me than being misgendered. When I was female, I was Debs. I would avoid going into a bathroom because I would be misgendered. I was female. I was using a female bathroom. 9 times out of 10, somebody would say, excuse me, can you go to the gents, please? It was embarrassing. I used to avoid going to a public toilet to stop that. Swimming pools, even when I was little, I was a tomboy. I had short hair, played football. My friends would laugh because I'd get told to get out the female changing rooms. You're a little pervert. No, my friends, well, it's the girl. There's nothing worse than being misgendered. And it's estimated within the UK that 1% of our population falls under those umbrella terms. So let's just say, there's 6 billion people. I don't know. That's, 600,000 people within the UK that are possibly transgender, gender neutral, under those umbrella terms, which is a lot. Go back 20 years, even longer, because I'm older now. It doesn't seem like 2 minutes ago, 20 years, but let's go back 30 years when I was at primary school. If I'd have come out then as transgender, I'd have been sent to the loony bin. If I'd have come out as gay even, it wasn't accepted. It was unheard of that I was a girl playing football for a boys' team. I was so isolated. I didn't fit into any part of society. I was expected to dress like a girl, but I wanted to dress like a boy. If I did dress like a boy, people would be like, "Oh, why are you wearing boys' clothes and scruffy trainers?" And that was how I identified growing up through secondary school. I felt pressured into having long hair, which I did, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. It was awful. I couldn't do anything with it. Ponytail, a nightmare. I've got 2 daughters now, and I'm still just as bad. I couldn't, I hated it. I hated being my birth gender. But the thought of being anything else just didn't seem like a possibility. Excuse me. It just wasn't an option. And little did I know, as time would go on, what impact that would have on my life, mentally and physically, it would lead to depression, anxiety, and things. So I'll touch on that a little bit. But I just want to go back to the numbers that I talked about. So let's say there's 600,000 under that umbrella term in the UK. It's not a lot, but is it really relevant? No, unless you start to look at the gender identity clinics. Now there's 7 to 9, 2 are not really up and running fully yet. They're more of a trial basis. I apologise if I'm wrong on any of these facts. Please correct me if I am. So let's say 600,000 into 9. I'm no mathematician. I'm not going to work it out. There simply isn't enough. And the reason I'm talking about that is because last February, March time, when I came out and said, I'm transgender, I'm going to transition to male, I didn't realise that the waiting list for the NHS for your first appointment, for not any treatment, not to commence psychotherapy, hormone therapy, surgery, just for your first appointment, is 2 to 3 years. I'm still flabbergasted by that. And it's down to funding. And I think now that we're living in this society of more acceptance, we need to be doing things about that. And the only way we can do that is to raise awareness. And hopefully things like this will make people aware, make the government aware that we need help. Those numbers are just unmanageable at the moment. So I'm 18 months into my journey, and I've been extremely blessed that I have amazing family around me and friends that have helped me, supported me, enabled me to go private. I've had friends that have done fundraising for me in order to get my first psychotherapy assessment done privately. I had chest surgery, which me and my wife have paid for. So all in all, in 18 months, I've spent about £15,000 on treatment. And that's for psychotherapy, endocrinology, started hormone treatment, which is why I'm sounding a bit like Barry White. It is a lot of the cold, but I am a lot more husky than I used to be as well, which is great. But I'm also, you can't really tell, but I am getting a bit of a beard, which is amazing. Just feels incredible. I've not had my first NHS appointment yet, which is a shame because I love the NHS. I work for the NHS. And we need more. We need help. We need more specialists. We need people to go into the surgical field because it's so unique and complex. It is really difficult, but to live as Debs, 18 months ago, I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do it anymore. I'd reached the end. I didn't realise initially why, but I was in a very dark place. So dark that I was within seconds of ending my life. And I think that's important to understand as well, is that particularly people of my generation and probably a couple of generations after me, and certainly before, maybe 10 years, that due to our social upbringing, being gay, being transgender, still wasn't accepted openly. So even though it popped into my head, you're trans, you're male, I just disregarded it. It didn't create a shadow. I didn't suffer every day with I'm trapped. It was just a constant sad feeling. a constant feeling of being depressed, anxious, never fitting in, feeling isolated, feeling unloved. And ultimately, it's because I didn't love myself. So 41 years ago, I know I don't look old enough. I know the greys give it away, but I was born to my amazing mum and dad, and I was born female. I was born Debs, and I had a good life, a good upbringing, 2 sisters who are also amazing, and we had a good family dynamics. But I've never felt like I fit in. I felt like I should have been the brother. So the school photos, it's school picture day. Deb's had to put a dress on. It was torture for me. And I don't blame my parents for that, because that's what I was, a girl, and that's what they were doing. But then as time goes on, you don't realise the implications of things like that. And I just never believed that I could be anything else but Debs. Moving into adulthood, excuse me. I told you I would be coughing. It's all this talking, getting a tickle. Adulthood. Do you know what? I've had a good life. I am so lucky in so many ways. I have a fantastic, beautiful wife, 2 amazing daughters. One's 2, one's 12. Career, I have a beautiful home. There is nothing that I didn't have to be happy for, that I didn't have to live for. Last year came to a head last February. Throughout my adult life, I'd had these moments of depression, of anxiety, and it came to a head. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to get up, get washed, get dressed. I was depressed. I was on medication. It wasn't working. I've tried counselling, but I wasn't being honest. One night, I was home alone. My wife was on nights. The children were with grandparents and what have you. I started drinking. I'm not proud of that, but I was depressed, and I thought it would make me feel better. Well, we know that alcohol is a depressant, and if you're feeling depressed, then it's only going to exacerbate that. Well, sure enough, that's what it did. I was drinking a lot, and this one particular night, I was drinking, and it just came to me that my life needed to end. I believed that the world would be better without me in it. I believed that my family would be better off without me in it. I felt like a burden. I felt useless, worthless. And I felt really at peace with that. I felt quite happy that I'd made the decision to end my life. What came following that was more alcohol. Being a paramedic, I've been to a lot of suicides. And I've seen lots of different ways that people have done it. So I knew how to do it. And I knew how to do it well. And I got things ready. I wrote letters to my wife, to my daughters, to my parents, my sisters, and to a couple of friends as well. And they were really letters of hope, because I genuinely believed that they would be better off without me. I think the saving grace that night was that I'd had too much alcohol. I'd got to the point where, even though they were irrational thoughts, they'd become uncontrollable thoughts, and I wasn't then thinking rationally enough to complete it. I don't remember having the thought process of ringing a friend, but the next thing I remember is being on the phone to one of my best friends. They were, as expected, angry at me, but in a supportive way. I'm coming round. Don't you dare do anything. It was just when COVID had hit. We were all in isolation. But what came out of that conversation was that there's another way. I didn't have to kill myself. I didn't have to keep living as the person that I was so unhappy with. And again, not that I'm, advocating excessive use of alcohol, but because I was so intoxicated, that enabled me to be honest. And that honesty came out as, I'm transgender. I can't keep living as Debs. And so it's my friend said, well, don't then, but live as male. Move forward, be the person that you are and that you have always been. And here we are, 18 months later. And I have never felt as happy, as settled, as stable, as unsad in my whole life. I finally feel like I'm me, that I fit. My wife, who is one of the most amazing people, those of that know her will agree with me. And those that don't, just imagine the kindest, most caring person ever. And she's somewhere near that. But she even says, now, you're so lovely to live with. You're a completely different person. You're really happy. And I think, well, wow, I must have been really miserable back then. Because, you're a pleasure to be around now. And I think, crikey, I must have been right miserable. But yeah, so it's, unfortunately, it took something really drastic for me to have the courage to be true to who I am. And not everybody will be the same. But there's a few things that I have learned since coming out. And I have to say, telling my wife, family was so difficult. And I should have known better, because all I've received is love, acceptance, support. And in actual fact, my mum and dad used to say they thought I was going to be a lorry driver. So they knew back when I was this big. I was like, why didn't you tell me? But yeah, I should have known better. I should have known that everything would be okay. But you hear horror stories, and I know some people aren't as lucky as what I've been. And I hope that my message that I'm trying to get out to the world can help other people that are maybe stuck, not transitioning yet, or if you come across patients, excuse me, that are transitioning, and how little things that I've come across along my own journey, which the main thing I've learned is that it's not just my journey. It's everybody's journey around me. So let's think about it. For 40 years to my parents, I was Debs. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Let's try some water. Oh, terrible. I do apologise. So for 40 years, I've been Debs. I've been she, her, herself. I've been a daughter, a granddaughter, a sister, a mum, and a wife. Now, all of a sudden, I'm Dec. I'm he, I'm himself. I'm a son, I'm a grandson. I'm a dad, I'm a husband. Mistakes are inevitable. I accept that. I applaud that. And I have no expectations on anybody not to make mistakes. I'm so sorry. Oh, I don't expect everyone to get it. Mistakes will happen. And what I encourage people was if, excuse me, oh dear, I did warn you, I do apologise. Bear with me. Told you it was bad. Oh, sorry, it's disgusting. Okay. If anybody made a mistake, I encourage laughter, because what's more positive than laughter? What I didn't want to do was for people to avoid me, which inevitably is what happened in some situations. And that's because, oh, I'm so sorry, they didn't want to upset me by making a mistake. It happens. I've made mistakes myself. Right, where we were up to. Expectations. Mistakes, they're going to happen. And my biggest advice to you is, if you come across anybody that's transgender, is if you make a mistake, own it, laugh about it, because it's more awkward if you don't. If you come across somebody in your field of work, however that may be, try not to presume somebody's gender. Because it bothers me for weeks and weeks if somebody misgenders me. And I know it's not always intended in a hurtful way. And it frustrates me that we have to define gender. But that's society, you know, we come from Latin, French, and the masculine and feminine words, and you know, it's not going to go away. But let's change how we manage that within society, within medicine, and within life in general. If you're unsure about somebody's gender, rather than presume, let's ask a question. Let's make asking questions normal. It might feel uncomfortable to begin with, but I would rather somebody said to me, sorry, what pronouns would you like me to address you with? Rather than presume they know what they am just from my appearance. So that's one big thing that I would take from my transition so far. Sometimes now, I still get misgendered. I got misgendered a few weeks ago. Me and my wife were having breakfast, and I'd ordered, you know, I pretty much sound like this now. I have got a little bit of stubble, granted, not a lot. I've got some acne, which is a present from the testosterone treatment that I'm on. So, you know, I'm a pubescent teenage boy. But, you know, I was misgendered as female, and the waitress, she just came over and she was just like, here's your breakfast, ladies. And it wounded me. My wife was just, don't worry, you know, she probably remembers you from before. And so try not to misgender people. Ask them the question, and I promise you, they will not forget you for that. They will thank you for that. You will make them feel incredible by asking how they want to be addressed. That is my biggest piece of advice. Never presume. Somebody might be offended if they say, well, I'm male, but we're living in a society now where there are so many different umbrella terms that let's just make it the norm. Let's make it the norm that we don't always presume the two genders that we've lived with in society. Let's expand that. And I don't fully understand all of the other umbrella terms that are within this sort of category. But as long as I respect them and their choice and how they identify, then that's all that matters. My biggest bugbear growing up and even now is being misgendered in bathrooms or changing rooms. It's always been one of my biggest concerns. And like I was saying earlier, I would avoid using the bathroom. If I had £1 for every time somebody said, oh, you're in the wrong bathroom, I'd be a millionaire. And I've recently helped my ambulance service rewrite the transgender policy. And one of the big questions that came out of that was bathroom facilities. It's illegal for anybody to tell a person which toilet facility to use, because there was discussions of, can they not just use the disabled? Somebody else said, I don't feel comfortable them using my bathroom. Okay. So my ambulance station, we have gender neutral facilities, which is brilliant. There is no issues at all. It's a big changing rooms. There's separate showers. It's completely private. Is that the path that we need to go down? Do we need to start thinking about being a more gender neutral society? I think so. And not just for me. The person that I said earlier, can they not just use the disabled, despite being illegal? I said, well, is your opinion of disabled people less than your own? They became quite aggressive and agitated that I would suggest such a thing. And that's the kind of reaction that I wanted to provoke, but for reason. And the reason being was, I asked the person, when was the last time you saw a gender-specific disabled toilet? And they thought about it. And they looked at me and they smiled and nodded. And the answer was, they haven't. So why do they expect? And this is an isolated person. I'm not suggesting that all cisgender males and females feel this way, but this particular person. If you are cisgender, so born male, identify as male, that you should get your own bathroom. If you're a cis female, born as female, identify as female, get your own female toilet. Disabled people, wheelchair users, just get their own, male or female, regardless. And we need to stop this. We need these barriers. And you don't realise the barriers until they become barriers. Let's just have toilets with facilities for wheelchair users. It just stops this segregation. And then liken that to trans people. If I'm still out in the open, the public, the open, the wild wilderness, it takes me a lot of courage to now go into the male bathroom. I don't have full surgery, therefore I can't stand up to pass urine, so I have to go into a cubicle. And then you get a bit paranoid that you think, well, people think I'm going for a number 2, and it just becomes this big cycle again. And if it was just a bathroom, these sort of things, they would go away. So that's the second thing I want to say is, if you or anybody else thinks that you're in a bathroom and you think somebody shouldn't be there, chances are they know exactly where they should be, where they feel they should be. And just leave them alone. Unless, of course, that they look lost and they need help, in which case, help them. The biggest thing is communication. If I had communicated sooner, if I had the strength and the understanding that I would have been accepted, I wouldn't have gone to those deep, dark places of suicide. And if you know anybody, you come across anybody that is going through a journey, please let them know that they're loved and supported and cared for, because it does make a difference. And, there is another way. There is a route to happiness. There's a lot more that I could talk about, but obviously with the initial technical fault and my extreme tickly throat, I do apologise. We will be running out of time shortly. But I just want to say thank you for taking the time to sign up to this and listen to me and watch my ugly mug talk about me, myself, and I, and how we can hopefully help people transition and move forward in a much more positive way. And that's all I want you to take from tonight, really, is positivity, is to know that you are on a trans person journey. It's not just about the individual person that is transitioning. It's about their loved ones, their friends, their family. And for them going on that journey with the trans person, acceptance and everything. And just remaining positive and making positive changes. Being open, asking the questions that you may feel are difficult. But I promise you, by asking those questions, will help that person feel more accepted within a society that is slowly changing for acceptance, but it will make all the difference. Hopefully, we'll get to a point in society where we don't come out, we just are. But until then, just remember, always be kind and always look after everybody. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from CPD.me, and welcome to our webinars. Taking part in our great CPD webinars is an excellent way to learn new skills and knowledge in an informal way, either whilst at work, relaxing at home, or maybe enjoying some downtime in the park. Our webinars are designed to support our learning community, to work and learn in a relaxed and informal environment. And the great thing is, if you're a member of CPD.me, you can replay and watch these back whenever you like. Registering for a webinar allows you to attend the live event and interact with other viewers online, sharing both learning and links. Don't worry if you can't make the live broadcast because you're running out of time or get a late job. Simply register and we'll email you a fully edited copy of the broadcast the following day. Members of CPD.me receive a free CPD certificate for watching both live broadcasts as well as watching previous webinars. Premium members also have access to a personal CPD dashboard that contains priority booking for all our live webinars, plus over 500 CPD webinars and seminars on demand to watch whenever you choose, with automated CPD certificates. You can always purchase a CPD certificate if you're not a member, but it is more beneficial for you to join CPD Me and take advantage of all the benefits. One great feature of membership is that you won't have to pay for every certificate, and we will automatically add a copy into a professionally formatted CPD portfolio, accessible via your CPD dashboard for all our mobile apps. Join today, and we'll backdate any webinars that you've watched within the last 14 days. Now is the time to take charge of your CPD. Now is the time to join CPD Me.